is a new Taylor GS Mini. To be more precise, this is the new Taylor GS Mini E Rosewood Plus model. And this is a really exciting addition to the line. If you're already familiar with GS Minis, then you might be aware that they recently, in the last year or two, made the Koa Plus model. They've now taken the same kind of ideals of what made that the upgraded model to the Koa model, and now they've done that with the Rosewood model, which is really cool. Aside from this one, Taylor have just released a limited edition Caramel Burst GS Mini, which I will show in this video in a little bit with a sapele back and sides. Also a very, very cool guitar. Now, we could make a video sort of going into detail about the specs of these, but to be honest with you, not much has changed in terms of, they haven't made any drastic changes to the GS Mini, and there's a good reason for that. It's because the GS Minis are already brilliant as they are. They don't really need to reinvent the wheel to make good GS Minis. But it did really get us thinking. The GS Mini is probably one of the most popular guitars in the world right now. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is the best-selling acoustic guitar in the world. And sometimes when you work in a guitar shop, that kind of becomes a bit of a matter of fact. It's just like, yeah, the GS Minis, they're great. Everyone loves them. Do you want to get one? Because they're great. And maybe in that you kind of lose sight on why they're so popular. So in this video, I just wanted to explore a little bit of why people love the GS Mini so much. And there are tons and tons of different reasons. But I think what's really important to note is that if you've ever watched like a tour diary of one of your favorite bands, of them, you know, whether they'll be in their tour bus or maybe they're practicing backstage, or you've been to an open mic night, or you've been to a jam session, or you've been around a friend's house and, you know, you've been playing guitar together, or even if you've come into a guitar shop like Guitar, there's a very good chance you've probably come across someone playing one of these. They really do, more often than not, just really blow people away. So let's talk a little bit about some of the reasons why. I feel like the best place to start would probably be the range of GS Minis that are available. There is a huge variety of models that you can get your hands on depending on your needs. So as I said, in my hand, this is the Rosewood Plus model. There is also the standard Rosewood model. You've got a Koa and Koa Plus model, and you've also got a mahogany model, as well as all of the different limited edition models that they tend to make year in, year out. And when you consider with just the GS Mini alone, you've got a choice of at least like 3 or 4 different tone woods. It really does start to make you understand why they're so popular. So if you're not familiar with tone woods and the purpose of why you might choose a guitar that has a certain type of wood on it, tone wood actually does affect the sound of a guitar. So depending on what type of wood you go for, whether it be a soft wood, a hard wood, or, you know, there's tons of different species within all of those parameters and categories, they will all give you a slightly different sound. And there's a good reason why I've started with this guitar in my hand. This is, as I say, the Rosewood model. It's got layered rosewood back and sides, but it's also got a solid spruce top. And if you are familiar with acoustic guitars, then you probably already know that this combination is pretty much kind of like one of the most standard combinations of wood you will get in an acoustic guitar. So the reason for that is it has a very balanced sound, it has very good low end, it has very good high end, and it really just kind of, it just touches all of the different frequencies that you would need, maybe if you're singing with a guitar or whatever. So if you were going to go into a guitar shop and you wanted to try out some GS Minis, then I would maybe recommend starting out with the Rosewood back and sides model, because that will give you a good idea of where to go from there. So let's say you played the Rosewood back and sides one and you think, oh, this is too bright, it's too trebly, you know, a bit too much high end. Then you can maybe try the mahogany model. So mahogany guitars, all mahogany guitars with a mahogany top and mahogany back and sides, you'll generally find that that is more popular with finger-picky folk players, so you get a slightly more mid-range heavy sound from it. However, if you play one of these and you decide, oh, actually, do you know what? I want a little bit more of that clarity. I want a little bit more of that bite. Then you can try the Koa model. And Koa, because of the way that it kind of is it gives you a little bit more brightness to it. So there's loads of range there. I'm not going to go too much into detail with, you know, all of the qualities of those woods, but I will play all of the different guitars so that you can get an idea for them. Aside from the tonal properties of the different woods, they also look different too, obviously. So the Koa guitars, for example, they have these extremely figured, really beautiful tops that might be your bag, or maybe you want something a little bit plainer on the top. Or maybe, like with the new limited edition model, you might want a caramel burst version. So there are loads of different reasons why you might go for different models dependent on aesthetics and sound. But of course, having a big range of guitars isn't really breaking ground on account of the GS Minis. There are many other reasons why these are so popular. So, GS Mini, what does it stand for? Well, the G and the S stands for Grand Symphony. Grand Symphony being one of Taylor's guitar shapes. And then Mini means mini, it means it's smaller. So the GS Minis have got a slightly shorter scale length from end to end. If you're not familiar with what a scale length is, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, in this conversation that we're having. But basically, it's the distance from end to end of where the strings are kind of at pitch and making the notes that they're supposed to make. So it's a slightly smaller guitar. It would actually be categorized as a travel guitar. But if you have ever played a travel guitar, then you might find that it doesn't usually have a very good sound. You're usually compromising the quality of the sound to have the benefit of having a smaller guitar that you can take around with you. And that's a fair compromise to make. However, the GS Mini is pretty much recognized for having just one of the most amazing sounds you could get out of a small little guitar like this. I mean, this thing is really up there with some of the big dreadnoughts and other shapes that I've played in the past. And I just think, how the hell do they manage to get so much of a good sound out of this? And part of the reason for that is this big sound hole here. So normally when we talk about travel guitars, a lot of the time the designs are kind of scaled down. They've taken a big guitar and they've shrunken it down. And part of what happens there is the hole gets smaller. On this, the hole is more like a full-sized acoustic guitar hole. So there's more room for the air to be pushed out and to resonate and project. And I mean, I'll play like a G right now. So that's just got like a really full, deep-bodied tone to it, despite the fact that it's, you know, a really tiny guitar. And that's really important because this stops being a gimmick like some travel guitars are. You know, a lot of people like travel guitars because it means they can travel and play guitar. This is so much more than that. I know a lot of people that have GS Minis that have never traveled with it in their life and just love playing it at home. One thing that I also mentioned earlier on about the back and sides was that it's layered wood. Again, generally speaking, if you were in the market for a guitar, an acoustic guitar that was made out of totally solid timbers, top, bottom, back, sides, etc., you would be paying a lot of money. And something that a lot of acoustic guitar brands do to basically make more budget-friendly acoustic guitars is they'll make an acoustic guitar with a solid top like this, and then they will use laminate for the back and the sides. Now, laminate is like, if you think about like a kitchen counter where you use like, I don't know, some kind of, you know, cheap wood, and then you'll just get like a really thin layer of veneer on the top to make it look that way. Some laminate guitars can literally be as basic as that, and they're not really providing any tone to the wood. Now, for the GS Minis, Taylor use layered wood, and layered wood is kind of a version of laminate, but the layers of veneer that they use are much thicker in comparison. And what that basically means is it gives you more of the tonal properties of those woods. And you do hear it. I mean, you do hear the difference between a layered rosewood and a layered mahogany. It is doing the tonal things it's supposed to do. You're also getting a really good quality wood out of these guitars, which is really cool. The third thing for me, and probably one of the most important things about these, is it's made by Taylor. And what comes with that is that it's a very easy guitar to play. Taylor acoustic guitars are known for being really comfortable guitars. A lot of the time, acoustic guitars, or we are led to believe that acoustic guitars are generally harder to play than an electric. What that basically means is it's tougher on your left hand, it's tougher, or right hand if you're left-handed. It's tougher on your fingers, basically. But Taylor's are designed to be easy action, nice to play. You know, I can bar a chord up here. No problem, barely any buzzing. If there is, it's because I'm a bad player, not because of the guitar. And also, you've got, because of this short scale length, you've also got slightly looser strings than what strings would be at a normal scale length. So it's just really nice to play, and it's really enjoyable to play. Let's say you're sitting on your sofa and you just fancy picking up a guitar. You don't have to worry about getting your electric, plugging it into an amp, or, you know, playing a big cumbersome acoustic, which is, you know, you just feel uncomfortable. You can just pick one of these up and they're just so easy to play. And I think that is a huge factor in what makes these so popular. Another big point with the GS Minis and why I feel like they are so popular and so loved is generally just the entire buying experience that comes with these, and all of the things aside from just sitting down and playing guitar. So the first thing to note is that budget-wise, they are pretty reasonable. They're not the cheapest acoustic guitars you're gonna find on the market by any means. You are paying a little bit more money compared to, you know, an entry-level all laminate acoustic guitar, for sure. But in terms of the quality of build and the quality of the brand that you're buying into, and the materials and, you know, the woods that are used, they're very, very good value for money. As well as that, you're getting things like you're getting a gig bag with your guitar. So if you get a GS Mini, you're always going to get a gig bag. The Plus models have a slightly upgraded gig bag. And also Taylor offers really great aftercare with their guitars. So we can't call it a lifetime warranty over here in the UK, but they offer a really lengthy warranty for any Taylor guitar, which is amazing. And it really shows with these guitars that there's been a lot of care and attention put into them. At the danger of this video being too long, the last thing I'm going to mention as well is, aside from the range of woods that I mentioned earlier, there's also a big range of electronics as well. So the Plus models, this one and the Koa Plus, have Taylor's standard ES2 electronics, which is their proprietary pickup system, which just sounds amazing. It's a really good representation of the tone wood of your guitar, and it just sounds great plugged in. The other models have a slightly stripped back version of their electronics called the ESB. It still sounds really great plugged in. Or if you don't care about electronics, then you can just get a model without electronics. They pretty much do all of their models without. That's just how Taylor do things. So if you wanted to gig with these, you could. If you wanted to record with them, you could. You could either plug it in, or like I'm doing right now, have a mic set up in front of one and you can capture the acoustic sound. They're just so versatile. And again, going back to that point I made at the beginning of this video, you know, you see professional musicians, like people that are touring the world day in, day out, you see people playing these because they just really do live up to that kind of expectation. When you compare them to most of their counterparts, the GS Mini just blows all of the competition out of the water for the most part. And there are a lot of exciting things that are coming out from other brands, but I think the GS Mini has just done a really good job over the last however many years that it has existed, just really establishing itself as a trustworthy guitar. And for that, we love them. I mean, most of the people that work here at Guitar have a GS Mini at home for good reason, and they just sound great. As I've also mentioned, Taylor have just released a few new models. So if you want to check those out, please make sure to go to our website, www.guitar.co.uk, and you can check those models out there. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to ask them in the comments below. And if you like this video, you know, do all the usual YouTube stuff, like and subscribe. But if you also enjoyed this kind of conversational kind of vibe, do let us know. We'll try and make more. If you have any other questions you might want answered, if you feel I've answered it well, then please let us know. Until next time, see you soon.